And we're live. Hey everyone, it's me, Laurie. How are you doing today? So I wanted to talk to you about this interesting subject that can sometimes be a little bit mixed up with some other subjects, soul contracts. We all have them, and they're really impossible to avoid. The trick is to become aware when you're in the midst of a soul contract with a person, a place, a circumstance, a timeline that, for a reason, a season, a lifetime, a historical event. There's so many different reasons that can be described as a soul contract, an experience. So in a nutshell, a soul contract is an agreement with the divine. All that is, God, Goddess, all that is, the universe, whatever you want to call the force that animates all of nature. So it is an agreement with that supreme intelligence. It is like a co-created process or invitation to process and unfold and evolve through these sort of determined events that may or may not happen. So this is where things get a little bit kind of, that doesn't make sense. It's because there are so many influences, and this whole process, our life existence, our experience of life, is so sophisticated. It is so influenced. It's like playing chess on 1,000 levels. There are so many variables that can happen. And so we can only look at a small handful. Our brain, the portion that we use of it, can only comprehend or process a certain set of ideas. So this is a very crude attempt to describe a soul contract. So the details of a soul contract may include engagements with people, place, events, things, precise information with these people, places, and things and circumstances, timelines, like I said earlier, for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. The details can also include certain handicaps within ourselves or within another person, place, or thing, or circumstance, but also gifts come into play, where we have an opportunity to step into fully our own spiritual gift with a person, place, thing, event, circumstance. And so this is why there's no sort of, this is what a soul contract is. So we form these agreements, we could call them an agreement, a soul agreement, at a soul level before we come into reality again and again and again and again. And when I talk about that, I'm not talking about, present life, past lives, future lives being in a linear timeline, because a linear timeline is an illusion. Basically, science has already proven that we are just particles, forming shapes in and out of time and space. And so the influences are infinite, ultimately, but we're going to magnetize to us the influences that we need for the highest potential outcome. So for the intended growth, healing, expansion at a soul level. So when we form these agreements, it is with the sort of understanding that it's going to supercharge our life in that moment or that timeline with the energy of transformation. Now, not all transformation is a positive experience. Sometimes it's tragic. Sometimes it's like winning the lottery. And sometimes it's a bit of both, all mixed together. And, you've got to factor in the fact that there's timelines involved. So it could be just a moment, and it has a profound, lifelong lasting influence on a person. Or it is an entire lifetime of a agreement that's unfolding, that's always running in the background of a person's consciousness, and so they appear to be living a particular experience. And I don't want to call it a drama or something positive, the opposite of a drama like luck, because that limits the explanation and our coming into the awareness of what is a soul contract. So hopefully by the end of my sort of unpacking of this, you might start to come into the awareness of, oh, I had a soul contract with that person. I had a soul contract at that job. I had a soul contract with my sibling. I'm in a lifelong contract with my spouse. So it can be, or you just become aware of a soul contract that happened in a moment, and it profoundly affected you and changed you, transformed you. So just keep everything wide open so that your intuition, your true nature, can actually come through to you and go, in the moment, this is a soul contract that you are in the midst of right now. And so when we become aware that we're in a soul contract, and I'm going to explain more about what they are in a bit. I'm just doing stream of consciousness. So where was I? When we are in the awareness that we're in a soul contract, we have this opportunity to straighten up, to become more heightened in our awareness of how we can best conduct ourselves for the highest outcome for all. And that means being in our truth. That means being grounded. That means being present. That means being open without any expectations or conditions coming into the formula and kind of messing up the formula. Because we can totally mess these things up, and then we just form another agreement. This is not the same as karma, but karma can be an influence in a soul contract. So I just want to make that clarification. As far as I understand, and as far as my experience has shown me, because people sometimes mix karma up with soul contracts, and they're not the same thing, but they do influence each other. So I'm just looking at my notes here. So a soul contract takes into consideration our unique karmic matrix. So what's that? Well, if you understand the idea of karma, okay, so I'm going to give you sort of like the idiot's guide to karma and dharma. I'm not claiming to be right, but this is sort of a very quick segue into what karma dharma is. It is a very deep subject, so if you're interested, I invite you to do your own research. But in a little kind of idiot's guide to the universe, I would describe to you as karma and dharma like this. You're playing poker. You've just had your hand dealt, and you scoop up your cards, and you're like, whew. So in that moment, the cards that you were dealt, right? Randomly, but not so randomly. It's all kind of planned. Those cards, that's your karma. You can't change them. You can't go, can you just steal me another hand? This one sucks. Or you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. So whatever it is, that's your karma. Now, it doesn't end there. The next step is, what are you going to do with that hand? How are you going to play it out? Right? So you look around the table at the other people sitting with you, and everyone's got their poker face on, and you've got your poker face on. And you're like, okay, what am I going to do? So you've got these cards. That's your karma. Your dharma is, how do you play that hand? Right? That the moment you begin making decisions and choices and actions, you are now unfolding in that moment with that karmic matrix. So a karmic matrix to me is this karma, dharma. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? This is what you get. These are your choices. That's it. You've just got this set of cards. What are you going to do? How are you going to play it? Are you going to give up before you start? Or are you just going to try to see what's going to happen, how everyone else is going to play their hand, their dharma, right? So it's fascinating in that there's so many variables, there's so many potentials, there's so many things that can begin to unfold. And so bringing into that awareness of, this is your karma, these are your cards, your dharma is influenced by so many things within you. It starts with the connection within you. It starts in with, it also registers as your awareness of your ability to create your reality, being a magical being with magical identification qualities, idiosyncratic qualities. We all have them. Do you know what yours are? And your spiritual gift, we all have one. Do you know what yours is? Because these are all the tools that you want to have access to play out your hand in the best way that you can based on the karmic cards that you got. And some can be handicaps, and some can be really powerful gifts, and some can be kind of like, neutral, no man's land, whatever. So I hope this is making sense. And feel free to drop down questions. Okay, so just looking at my notes here, because I could go on and go down different rabbit holes. So keep me on the straight and narrow. Okay, so, all right, so the unfurling of this soul contract can be positive and or negative. Either way, we are altered, we are transformed by the experience, by the process itself. And which then gives us the place marker to kind of reevaluate and reset and potentially tweak or renegotiate other soul contracts on a soul level. So although we do a lot of this work before we come into form in this 3, 4, 5D reality, we're also at a soul level, at the ultimate level of our soul, constantly tweaking and renegotiating these contracts. So it's not like you can just, spit out a report and go, those are my soul contracts for this lifetime, because it's constantly evolving and changing. So it's a moving target. And so the only thing that is certain is that we must continue to cultivate the connection to who we are, why we're here, what our gifts are, our dharma, how do we conduct ourselves, and looking at all of these things together as a constantly moving, shifting, shaping, changing, in the moment experience. It's when we get stuck in the past, or we get stuck in a hopeful place of a potential future, that we are not in the moment where we are most powerful and most creative, because we're creative beings. We're constantly creating, unless we're in the past, stuck in an old story, stuck in an old pattern, or we're kind of in this future. So we're either in the here and now, or we're not here in the now, or we're not here, not now, we're nowhere. So all right, so another rabbit hole around time and space and quantum reality. So let me just come back to this idea of soul contracts. life is not always a walk in the park, right? I mean, we've all had dramas and traumas, and even if we see other people as having life really easy, they always get everything falls in their lap, they win the lottery, they in every way, it's just an outside view. You don't know what's going on the inside, and you don't know how far they've come along their soul evolutionary path, where they have reached that sort of place where maybe they're having a life experience that is just a little bit of a restful life, right? Instead of a challenging life. These are choices. Everything is about a choice. So a soul contract is not karma, but our karmic process does influence the outcomes of our soul contracts. So what does that mean? So that means, I kind of explained it earlier, but I'll just follow through on my notes here. So if one of your cards in your poker hand is intertwined with a soul contract, it is going to be part of the matrix of that whole experience, like as a challenge, as a handicap, as a disadvantage. So to make the challenge for your soul to grow even harder. And, why would we choose that? Well, because we love to learn. At a soul level, we just can't get enough of it. We love to learn. We love to create. We love to be in the moment. We love to manifest. And so it's like, make it more challenging, because you want to move to the next level, and then you want to move to the next level after that. And you can't move to those next levels unless you've moved through the transitions of challenges that really challenged you, where you were still needing to develop this aspect or that aspect, or strengthen this piece of you, and so on. So you can see what I mean. It's pretty sophisticated, but it's very cool. It's very interesting. Okay. And, little bits and pieces of this information are constantly dropping down around us like pieces of a puzzle. And sometimes they land into the right place in the puzzle, and sometimes they're like off to the side because you're like, yeah, I still can't figure out where this piece goes, right? Or some of those pieces get lost, and you've got these holes in your puzzle, and you're still feeling incomplete, like something's missing. It's that piece of the puzzle. And then suddenly someone walks into your life holding that piece of the puzzle, and you're like, wow, where have you been all my life? You know what I mean? And it's like, and they just go, I've been busy. I'm so glad you're here now. Can you just like put that piece into my puzzle? And they start pushing it in, and they're like putting it in sideways, and you're like, no, turn it. And you're like, well, I want to see how it feels when we put it in sideways. And you're like, why? Because let's flip it around upside down. Actually, let's flip it upside down so you can't even see. And you're like, whoa. And you're like, well, that happens to be part of their karmic challenge, right? So that's where we these things are always kind of mishing together. So but we do get these very clear sort of body-mind or biosignatures that something significant is happening right now, right? Something that's like your soul is speaking to you. It's like, pay attention, right? And sometimes we want to sedate ourselves and go, it's too hard. It's too go away. Just go away. And that person's like, why? We made an agreement to come together and to accomplish ABC. And you're like, no, I don't want to do it right now. And the other person's like, oh, okay. So you see what I mean? And that factor is what makes us repeat a lesson over and over and over again, or brings an experience back into our life multiple times. Here's another window of opportunity. Are you going to seize the day? Carpe diem. Are you going to do it? No. Okay. And then sometimes those windows stop appearing. And then this is where people sit in regret at the end of their life. I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have forgiven that person. I should have not held on to that. I should have seized that moment. So this is life, right? And then we just pack it up, pack it in, check out, and start planning the next experience. But here, this will blow your mind a bit. Because linear time's an illusion, imagine that you are a soul, but you are having multiple experiences simultaneously, in time, out of time, in all different versions of space and time. And they're all influencing you and influencing them. That's what's going on. That's why we have deja vus. That's why we're suddenly drawn to something and we don't know why, and we suddenly need to have something and we don't know why. It's like staying in touch with your intuition really allows you to really feel like you are living on the edge of your own growth, and believing that everything that happens to you, every opportunity that's presented to you, every challenge, every molehill that you make into a mountain, it's all part of your own soul evolution. And you want to just seize these moments and move through them. And, you reach a point where sometimes you just don't have the energy. You need to go pack it in and refuel. And sometimes that shows up as an illness, or you're just going to just become a hermit for a little while, or whatever. You see what I mean? Unlimited influences and potentials through soul agreements. Okay. Just looking at my notes again because I can't seem to follow them. Most importantly, the outcomes of these soul contracts are not predestined. They're not predetermined. That's really important to understand. It's a really important point. We have this thing called free will. And so although it looks like things are sort of predetermined or predestined, we still have free will. We still have the option to sort of bow out or bring a different agenda to it or go into resistance. That's all of that. Instead of acceptance and receiving, we go into kind of conditions. Well, I'll hook up with this person if they show me this, or they do this, or they have this going on, and it corrupts that connection moment, and it even corrupts the perception, although subtle, of what that soul agreement is, because then it becomes about things that are more worldly and more egoic based. So, all right. So we are creating challenges for our soul to evolve. And we have various tools at our disposal. And we have handicaps, like I mentioned, to make sure the experience matches the vibration of where we are when the soul contract is activated and where we intend to transition to. Still doesn't guarantee we're going to get there. So we still have no guarantee that we will come out the other side of a soul contract having accomplished what we set out to achieve. All right? It's like you put your child into school and there's no guarantee that they're going to graduate or that they're going to accomplish a certain thing. It's so many things to consider. Or don't even consider any of it and just be in the moment, and don't let all that information kind of cloud your perception and make it a cerebral process, because God knows that does not help at all. Okay? So we got free will, and we're continually influenced by everything around us, and we have this free will. So we also have this other highly influential idiosyncratic aspect of who we are, a set of idiosyncrasies that are not just on the surface, but that are deep. This is our true nature, our soul nature. And it is linked to our destiny, which is another subject altogether. Destiny is not predetermined or predestined, but it has strong sort of roots in that so this is why our destiny is tied up into our soul contracts and our karma and our dharma. So these things they're all like moving parts of a clock. And if you take one away, then it doesn't quite work. So we have to take these all into consideration. So the neat thing about our true nature is that our life experiences do not influence our true nature. It's like, really? Yeah, really. Our soul continues to evolve, but our nature, who we are, is steady, right? We're steady, we're straightforward, but our conscious awareness is not always following the impulse of who we are. And that's where we experience disconnection within ourselves. And as we reconnect, we experience a transformation and we think we've changed, but really we've just stepped more into our true nature. And there is a sort of divine will or true will that plays out in our true nature as well. And that's not a willfulness. It's like a track that we can never disconnect from, like a set of train tracks. So I hope this is making sense. So this is why, if you look at different Eastern philosophies, it's always about follow the middle path. Avoid the highs and lows, stay to the middle of the road. When we stray, we experience more tumultuous things. But sometimes we need to kind of bump around and go to the edges and create some frenetic energy, some challenges, some drama to stir things up a bit. Those are generally soul contracts that are showing up. So that's a little hint and clue that that's a soul contract. All right, so doing self-connection work is invaluable to navigating and transitioning through soul contracts with more ease and efficiency, so that in the moment you're like, this is a soul contract. I recognize this vibration. I know that this is a soul contract. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to stay present. I'm going to stay grounded. I'm going to show up in as much of my true nature as I can. I'm going to show up without conditions or expectations. I'm going to show up and bring my game and do the best that I can. So imagine if we all sort of, soldiered up in that way to soul contracts. We actually can move into this flow state where we are moving through things so efficiently. And it doesn't matter whether the challenge was positive or negative or something in the middle or all of it. I've often been caught saying whoever has the most fun wins. And so it's like, just seize the moment, show up 100% and seize the moment as best as you can. Because the outcomes for you are, and for me, it's always going to take us to the next level if we really show up. So, and that can be for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, whatever soul contract we are engaging with at the moment. And we can have multiple soul contracts going all at once, not only in this incarnation, but all the other multiple experiences that we can be having out of time and space and in other time and space. Does that make sense? Out of time, no time, some other space, or in time, but in another time, in the past, in the future, sideways, on some diagonal. Yeah, so other dimensions, other realities, other versions of reality. It's just unlimited. It's, and like you can try to bring linear systems to it, but that's just to try to help your linear brain understand something that is so sophisticated. Will our brain just can't conceptualize it, but our soul comes from this source, so it is a product of this source, so it knows it intimately. So when we get out of this part, this brain that thinks it's a body, and we come back into this heart that is very intelligent and is connected to the body mind, then we get more clear answers. So so when connecting, okay, I have another piece here in my notes. An example of a soul contract is, and it's one I've come across many, many times in my readings, in my intuitive coaching. It's unrequited love. And unrequited love, to me now at this point, having encountered it enough times with clients, but also within myself, it has a very distinct feeling to it. So what is unrequited love? It is two people coming together, but not being able to fulfill the agreement, the soul contract, to come together in love, finally. And so these are very tumultuous connections. They're like right out of the gate. They're like, nee, 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 nee. And it's like, but you want to be together. You want to make it work. And sometimes you just can't. And you just have to agree to try another time, in this lifetime or another incarnation, another time and space. But it has a distinct signature to it. So that's a classic soul contract with another person. Another soul contract example would be being at a major historical event while it's happening. Like, that's a soul contract, right? That you decided to be there. Like, when this plane was going to fall from the sky, or when this sort of traumatic event was going to unfold, or when this grand event, celestial event, was going to happen, and it was going to open up a portal and you move through it just like air. So there's just more examples. I'm getting to the end of my notes. So, all right. So back to unrequited love. When connecting to a new person in our lives, sometimes we have this subtle awareness. It gets activated in our awareness, sort of in a non-conscious way, but it kind of comes clear, and you're like, something's going on. And there's a soul contract between you, in place between you, and it's just reared its head. And you might feel anxious, you might feel excited, you might feel a little bit unsure, you might feel like you want to just get in there and connect, and you're like holding back because you're like, okay, they're going to think I'm really weird, but I just want to grab them and I want to reconnect to them. What? Did I just say that? Yes, you want to reconnect because you know them. But, social norms and etiquette and all of that, we kind of hold back. And then slowly those walls begin to drop. And then it's like, bang. And you're like, I know you. Have you ever had that experience? Yeah, I have a number of times. It's pretty cool. So anyway, pay attention to those feelings. They are freaking real and powerful, and they can lead you down some of the most amazing experiences in your life. So we never want to dismiss or ignore those internal impulses or tugs in the direction of a person or an event or a location or a thing. We need to pay attention to that, inquire around it, but not cerebrally, through your heart. So the sooner we surrender and get out of resistance to whatever this is, we move into flow. And the quicker we understand the soul contract and our role in it, the more easier we can navigate through the challenges, whether they're big or small, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant. So So I'm gonna leave you with a big question, and I invite you to either drop it in the comments below or send me a DM. And yeah, or if you want to really go in deeper to exploring your soul contracts or your true nature, your spiritual gifts, this is my gig. This is my niche. Book a discovery call or jump right in and book an intuitive coaching call, and we will go there, my friend. Because you know what? We have a soul contract. That's how it works. So if you're feeling this connection, don't waste any time. Let's get on with it, okay? All right, so big question for you is this. For a reason, a season, or a lifetime, what current soul contract are you unpacking right now? Are you in surrender with it, or are you in resistance? That's going to tell you that you're in a soul contract, whether you're surrendering or you're resisting, right? If you knew that there were divine forces deeply supporting you in this transformation, this transition through this soul contract, what would you do now? Would you surrender? If you are ready for a guide, I'd love to support you, okay? We don't always need a guide, but some of the big soul contracts, we absolutely need a ferryman, a guide to help us navigate through those challenges without getting lost along the way in how do I play this hand? What are my actions, decisions? What are the best that I can make? What's my dharma? What's my karma? Let's work this out. Anyhow, I'm going to end it now. I went on far longer than I expected, but I've enjoyed sharing with you, and have to do this again on some other subject. So you have a fantastic day, and if you're interested in working with me, book a discovery call, 15 minutes. Let's have a chat. Let's see if there is some soul contract between us to do some work together, to go on a journey together. All right, you take care. Take care of you and yours. Cheerio.